Being a musician and working alongside people in the music industry for a couple of years now, I've noticed that a lot of the music production and music industry and music writing things are going from a desktop to a more mobile workspace. And I'm finding that a lot of people are wondering how to get started on mobile devices when it comes to music production or something similar. And so today we're going to be looking at 4 different apps that I've picked out that are the best for music production on an iPad as we have here, or any of your other mobile devices. But just to preface that, most of these apps, except for one of them, are only available on iOS. So I apologize to Android users. I will have a link in the description to a number of Android alternatives for you because I don't want you guys to feel left out. So be sure to check the description for that. But we're going to be looking at 4 different apps: GarageBand, FL Studio Mobile, which is the one that's available also on Android, BeatMaker 3, and Cubasis 3. So first of all, we're going to start off with GarageBand. GarageBand is pretty simple to get with, most simple to operate, very quick to learn. Most Apple users will have this app already installed on their device once they get it. Contrary to popular belief, GarageBand is actually really good for doing music production on. It's basic interface, good for learning how to use it very quickly. You got all these programmable instruments in here: drums, keyboards, string instruments, smart drums, like a drummer of some sort that actually programs and works along with your instruments that you've already programmed. So you get things like the guitar where you have the actual strums and the chords, like the strings themselves, and also have the normal fretboard with the notes and some effects. Then you have the keyboard, very simple classic keyboard. You can get the stringed instruments on the keyboard, which is really nice. I don't personally have a MIDI keyboard or a MIDI device to use for these apps, but for GarageBand I'm pretty sure you can connect a MIDI device to it. But you can have all sorts of little instruments, keyboards, pianos, classic ones or obscure ones. So what you're also going to get in GarageBand is loops. So loops, they have, if we tap on here, it has preset loop settings, which is pretty cool. So you can tap on certain lines to have them play. It's basically like a preset song that you can just customize to make for your own use, or you can just use the loops individually, and you can make your own loop session, brand new. You just go add loops or add instruments and record 4 to 8 bar loops or whatever you decide. But then Apple has their entire music library selection on here for you to go into and have a look at. You can search by instrument, genre, or have a description of them. But there's a lot here that you can go through and pick out what you like. So if you go to this section as well here, this is where you would have your recorded audio if you record some. You can also go to the loops area here and drag and drop in there. And you can also, if we drag this in here, you have this, so this is where it would appear. But also you can go to your own personal files through the Files app on your device, and you can have any of your audio files that you have on there and drag and drop in there as well, which makes it really easy because I know a lot of people file share between different types of apps, because a lot of people like myself like to use several different apps when making music. So it's nice when it's easy to be able to move audio files from one device or one app to the other. So that makes it really easy for you. Just drag and drop, set your settings. So that's basically GarageBand. I am going to do more videos on each one of these apps later on. So if this video doesn't dive into the apps as much as you would like, I will be planning on doing more videos doing tutorials on how to use these apps here. So the second one we're going to be looking at is FL Studio Mobile. Pretty simple. New empty template. So here you'll be taken to a screen. You can choose your BPM, your time signature, all that sort of stuff. You can change like those settings throughout, but this app, I feel like this is really cool for those people like myself. I'm not a pianist, I play the trumpet, but this makes it very easy to program your own instruments. Let's just tap here and go direct wave. Let's go with the guitar. It gives you piano roll here. You have this section here, it's the piano roll, so you can see what notes are which here. But then also what I really like about it is you can tap and you can add a note in, change the duration of it. So it's really cool that way. You can make chords. You can make chords here very simply, and if you don't know exactly how chords work or you're not as familiar with the music theory side of things, it's very easy to literally just make a simple C chord like that, drag it to whatever key you want it to be in. So let's go G, and then you can play it in that key signature. But then also, if you're not exactly sure what you're doing, you can literally just drop notes at certain intervals and you can see whether they work or not. So if something doesn't work, you can move one down to different areas, or you can move sort of two at a time. So just as an example, that's how you get it done. So when you go back to the main menu here, so this is what it's going to look like once you've actually programmed what your instrument's playing. So it'll just play through that, sort of repeat, and then you can add more as you go along. The thing I like also here is you have the master output rather. Then you have these other things here, so solo, panning, and volume, which I really like how they've done that. So you can put it off to the side. But then also what I like is this little bar here. You have a little area here for effects, things like that. It's really cool just to play around with them, see what sounds you like, and you can add other inputs for other sounds and effects and things like that, which I really like. And it's really cool because it's literally one tap away, takes up half your screen, one tap gives you the whole screen back for the rest of your audio. And another thing that I really like about this app, it goes back to what I said before about exporting audio. So what I tend to do is one of the other apps in this list, Cubasis 3, I do a lot of my editing in that app for music. This app, I don't do too much of my editing with, but I use this a lot for programming instruments. So what I'll do, and what's good about it, is when you go and save it, it gives you a lot of options. So depending on what type of file you want to export, you can either save it, and that saves your project as that particular waveform or file, or you can send it, and so it either does audio paste, which I haven't personally used, so I'm not exactly sure what that does, or you can share it. And this is where it gets good. So you can normalize the level, make it high quality as you would. Then this is the part that like split mixer tracks. So when you export this and share this, you'll be able to share each of your tracks and instruments separately. So you'll be able to have the piano, the bass, and the drums or whatever you have in there. You'll be able to have it separate as different audio files. I will show you quickly what I mean. So basically what I did with FL Studio, I was able to export it, and this is my project from FL Studio. This is literally every individual track from that session that I exported, because it allowed me to export each audio file separately, which is really good if you don't like editing on FL Studio, or you want to edit on something else that you prefer that's easier for you to edit with. It makes it so easy, and you don't have to worry about getting it perfect for the one waveform with all the instruments just packed into that one audio file. It's really handy. Kudos to FL Studio for being able to make it that easy and that helpful. So basically that was FL Studio. I definitely highly recommend it. FL Studio is $19.99 Canadian. I'm not sure what the exchange rate is, but that's how much it is Canadian. So you could check how much it is on your app store. So it does cost more money than GarageBand, because it does cost money in the first place and GarageBand doesn't. And that's the same with the next two apps. BeatMaker 3, I can't remember exactly how much it costs. I will probably put that on the screen right now. So we'll look at BeatMaker 3. Now BeatMaker 3, personally, I don't use as much. It's great though. That's the thing why I'm including it in this video, because it is amazing. So it's cool. It gives you a bunch of samples. There are in-app purchases. It does give you a lot of samples to begin with, so you can literally, like in this section, it'll play it for you, and you can drag and drop the file into different pads. So it gives you this pad thing, so you can play around with whatever you feel like on the pads. Also, another thing you can do is you can have the actual keyboard, which is cool for those who are piano players, know how to play the piano, or fiddle around with the piano a little bit. Some people just like the keyboard more, and I'm one of those people. I prefer a keyboard on it, and with this app it's really good using an external MIDI device. It makes things really handy, and it's really cool to be able to use that with it. This thing has so many settings and add-ons that you can use as well. So you have like MIDI effects, audio effects, and you have all your typical knobs and dials of music production apps, just to fiddle with the sounds, make it exactly the way you want it. Things like this, like look at this, you can edit the exact audio file itself and how it sounds. You can play with all this. Like at first it is a little bit daunting, and personally I found this a lot harder to get the hang of. It was not the easiest thing to learn. Even now I'm not very good at using it, but given time, tutorials, YouTube tutorials, it's really those are really handy. I use a lot of those. Given time, you will be able to do exactly what you want to and what you need to with this. So this is where you would have things recorded. So let's just quickly record something before. It was not meant to be good. So this is where you record into, change this little thing like up here, like, you know, lengthens things where you want to record, and you can do, you know, as many tracks as you want. And also what I love having this and the next app, Cubasis 3, have exactly this. I love having a proper mixer, full screen mixer, being able to just play specifically, because when you're doing music, things like, for example, GarageBand with the sides where you have just the audio, having that there is cool and all, but this is much more precise. And when you're doing professional music production, this is a lot easier and a lot better when making your music the best that you want it to be. Make it the best sounding on all platforms, whether it be a speaker, headphones, or just from the device itself. Having this is always a must for me personally. Very handy. I love it. BeatMaker 3 definitely recommend. Just the learning curve is a little bit more of a steep one. Now onto the last app. So this one is personally my favorite for editing. Now this one is, it happens to be the most expensive one now. There is a sale on right now until the 8th of this month. So there's only a couple more days left of this sale on the App Store. But I bought it for close to $50 Canadian. I think it was $44.99 Canadian when I bought it, but that was on sale. So if you're gonna get this, I'd get it in the next few days because it will go up in price. So we had a brief look at it before when I was talking about FL Studio, but the thing is, look at this. Like, if you've ever used any of these types of programs on desktops, you'll look at this, and personally I think of two things. I think of Pro Tools and Logic. More Pro Tools for the editing, like the layout look exactly like Pro Tools, and Pro Tools is used in a lot of professional audio editing for things like voiceovers, music, all sorts. So it's nice to have something like that on an iPad. You can get so precise, but there's so many tools up here at the top of the screen that you can use to cut, extend, edit audio. It's amazing. Also on the side you have so many options, whether it be effects, routing, automation, which is a nice one, and a notepad. I love being able to have a notepad just to write notes for like notes down, jot things down for lyrics, things like that. Really makes me happy. Just a little convenience, right? And then also you have one of these, gives you a one-off thing and it's just there. Also you can color code exactly what you want that thing to be, if you want it to be a certain color to stand out from the rest of them. And also, if you're wondering whether your device is able to take this app, you can tell how much CPU you're using when it comes to the whole session. It will show you right here. So right now I'm using 2 to 3%. Pretty good. The reason I say it's like Logic as well as Pro Tools is the fact that you get instruments. If I go add audio or add MIDI, I can add an acoustic piano and I can get the keyboard. So it's really cool. You can choose how much the keyboard you see or what section of the keyboard you see. You can also go to pads, which will literally give you the chords for you. And you can customize these chords by choosing what note it is and what type of chord it is, whether it be a minor, major, diminished, whatever. Makes things really handy, so you can program or record straight into this app or export from other apps into this app. And what I like about it is in the media, you have all this here. You have WAV files and audio files, but then you can also import from your own files on your device. So having the feature of having your files right here is really handy, and it makes it just like the computer in the fact that you can just throw any of your WAV files onto the device. And once you've selected a file, you go to audio, and my audio files, they'll all be here in my audio files, ready for you to just drag and drop into your timeline here. And then remember what I said before about me loving a mixer board? Well, you get that here, and you can change the size of the actual things themselves, the dials, make it bigger to make it take up the whole screen, and you can customize the volume of every individual track. Absolutely love it. Really makes things easier for you, and you can just drag it down and have it at the bottom of your screen, or you can get rid of it completely. So that's basically Cubasis 3. Again, I will be doing another video on a tutorial for each of these apps later on down the line. That should be a little bit more helpful and a bit more insight onto these apps if you're interested. So these were the 4 apps that are best for working with music production on a mobile device. Hopefully you found this helpful. hopefully this gives you a little bit of an insight to each of the apps and helps you make a decision as to which ones to buy, which ones not to, or which ones to just consider for now. But again, hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you can take something away from this. Thanks for watching.